Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and today in GeneralJannis Tactics, the Warhammer 40k channel with a Nurgly and Chaos touch, we are looking at the dreaded Dreadknights from planet Titan, the Grey Knights, looking at, let's say, Know Thy Enemy or a meta unit review. So with no further ado, let's get started. So today is the 14th of November, and last week I had a small crusade game, 50 PL. My death card facing the Grey Knights with two Dreadknights, one Grandmaster and one Dreadknight, and I had let's say yeah, it was a tough matchup. I lost the first turn, and it was a small table, so the Dreadknights were quickly over me. I lost my Plague Scroller, which was my best option to shoot at the Dreadknights, and it became my second loss to the Dreadknights, to the Grey Knights. So now thinking to arm myself with some more math, so I'm looking at the Grey Knight Dreadknights, looking quickly at its stats and weapons, its damage output and durability to get an understanding of how strong this unit can be, and then looking more specifically how to face them as a chaos, how dangerous are they versus Death Guard and Thousand Suns, and vice versa, what can Death Guard and Thousand Suns do to battle them. So before I start, a very big thanks to my patrons as always. Thanks guys for your support, and all you guys liking and subscribing my channel, helping the channel grow. So let's get started with the stats of the Dreadknights. So the Nemesis Dreadknight is a heavy support option for the Grey Knights, and also there is the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight, which is an HQ choice. So basically, it's a 13 wound model that can degrade. It has a toughness 6, so it doesn't seem very strong in the toughness department, but it has the 9-inch movement and a 3+ weapon skill and ballistic skill. The attacks, the ballistic skill, and the movement degrade as it loses the wounds. What makes it quite strong is the 2+ save, and it has also a 4+ invul save. And then it has some strong weapon options. It can take up to 2 shooty weapons, the Gatling Silencer, 12 shots, strength 5, AP -1/1, the Heavy Incinerator, which is a flamer weapon, and then the Heavy Psy Cannon, heavy 6, strength 8, AP -2, damage 2 weapons, so 24-inch range for that. Then we have, normally it's equipped with a Dread Fist, but it can also get the Nemesis Greatsword, like you see here, is one of the very strong weapons because it has 2 profiles. So you have the Mighty Strike, which becomes a strength 10, AP -3, and a D6 weapon that could also kill, let's say, Terminators if you're a bit good with the rolling, or the Sweeping Blow, where you make 2 hit rolls instead of 1, so it will have 10 attacks, strength 6, AP -2, damage 2. A lot of damage 2 weapons, not immediately, it doesn't sound immediately threatening to Death Guard, but still a high volume of shots possible and high volume of attacks in melee and some strong attacks. So for 10 points, it can have the teleporter keyword, and then it could be teleported with a stratagem. It is a psyker, it can deny a spell. It knows Smite and the Hammer Hand, which allows it to reroll wound rolls, and of course, on top of that, a core unit. So core units, of course, it can get more buffs, rerolls, etc. So all in all, a very durable core unit with teleport, and it's both a shooting and melee threat. For example, the Plague Scroller with Entropy Cannons is a good shooting threat, but not a melee threat. So this is quite of an all-rounder unit here. On top of that, as a Grey Knights, it gets 5+ protection of versus mortal wounds, and as I said, it's a psyker, and it can deny with +1 to its deny. The protection on mortal wounds, of course, making it even tougher, for example, for Thousand Suns to take it out with mortal wounds, or for example, when Death Guard are trying to cast, they can more easily deny. Thousand Suns basically get +1 to cast, but the Grey Knights can deny with +1, so bringing it back to equal odds, let's say, on that. So let's look a bit at the damage output. So in the shooty weapons comparison, here we can see the Gatling Silencer, the 12 shots, strength 5, the Heavy Psy Cannon, 6 shots, strength 8, and the Heavy Incinerator, the Flamer 2d6, but only at 12-inch range. So we see here the Heavy Psy Cannon for most units is the best the best target. Not so impressive versus Death Guard with a disgusting resilience. And we can see probably the Gatling Silencer is a good, the combination of the heavy side cannon and the Gatling Silencer is typically used, at least when the opponents I face, they use this combination, and they had the Nemesis Greatsword on top. If you only take the side cannon and the silencer, you get 160 points. You could add the Nemesis sword for 175 points. Incinerator only is on short range, so probably a better option to go with the side cannon and the Gatling Silencer. In the melee weapons, the standard no cost is the Dread Fist. Here we can see the Nemesis Greatsword. The orange line is with the Mighty Strike. That's the best option versus most of the targets. The Nemesis Greatsword is a D3 plus. The sweeping gives it 2 hits per attack. We get the gray line, so it's better against the horde type enemy, chaffs, etc. It's a damage 2 weapon, so good against Marines, but not so good against the Death Guard. And then we see the Nemesis Daemon Great Hammer. It has a D3 plus 3 damage output, which is really strong against Terminators and things like that. But it suffers from -1 to hit. So all in all, this is that the Nemesis Greatsword, giving the option of both profiles, is the most versatile and the strongest and most configurable. Summarizing the most promising configuration here, so if we take the heavy side cannon, the silencer, let's say, and the Nemesis sword is 175 points. Adding the teleporter costs 185 points. Here we can see the damage versus GeneralJannis 31 targets, point corrected. We have quite a strong 3 wounds on average at long range, short range, and 2.8 in melee. If we add the teleporter, it's basically the same. We just dilute a bit the damage per point. But as I said, the Nemesis Grey Knight is a core unit, so it could easily get reroll once to hit. And if it casts the Hammer Hand in melee, then it will be rerolling all 2 wounds. And for 1 command point, it could get +1 AP to its psi weapons, like the heavy psi cannon and the Gatling Silencer. So if we buff it with these, for example, then we get 4 wounds on average and 4.2 wounds in melee, rerolling everything. So as I said from the beginning, a strong all-round damage in all areas of the game, easily buffable due to the core, and on top of this we have the potential psychic damage due to, for example, casting a smite could add a couple of mortal wounds on top of this at medium short range. Looking then at Dreadknight Durability, so here we are looking at a variety of weapons, shooting at the Nemesis Dreadknight, and this is not point corrected, just to see how many shots will be needed to kill a Nemesis Dreadknight, and you can see that something like combi bolters and bolt shots from Death Guard, it's basically no point. Basically the AP0 allows the Dreadknight to save on a 2+, wounding on 5+. You need multiple shots to even make a dent. If we even if we take the Inferno Bolters from 1000 Suns with strength 4, AP -2, damage 1, we are, of course, it's better because then it's only saving on 4+, it's invul save. But it can definitely get protection here. Also, if we shoot from farther away than 12 inches, they can use the tide where they can be saving +1 to the saves and get the benefits improved there. So light fire, it can really sustain a lot. And then for the higher the heavy weapons like entropy cannons and melta guns, etc., it can still save and take quite a lot with its 4+ invul save. And it's in comparison here quite close to the Plague Burst Crawler against damage 2 weapons. Then of course a Redemptor Dread or a Plague Burst Crawler, they have basically disgusting resilience, minimizing the damage. But otherwise, for many of these heavy weaponry, the Dreadknight is better because it has a 4+ invul save, which the other units are lacking. So even when we look at the datasheet and we saw a toughness 6, the Dreadknight is highly durable. It has the 2+ save and the 4+ invul save. making it, if especially if your opponent is rolling well or his invul save, it can be really frustrating to make 13 wounds of this target, and it takes time to whittle it down. And bolters and light fire is highly ineffective. Strong weapons could be doing a lot of damage, but again, it depends a bit on how well the opponent is rolling his invul saves. So all in all, a very durable unit based on with its 4+ invul save. Then if we look at more specifically what damage output do we expect from a Dreadknight versus the Death Guard, and here we're looking at the configuration with a heavy Psy Cannon and the Gatling Silencer and the Nemesis Sword. So here we can see the damage it would be doing in shooting and in melee with the different profiles versus a different variety of Death Guard units. So we can see that we can at shooting damage it can do some damage to Death Guard units, but quite well, reasonably protected with the Disgusting Resilience. The heavy Psy Cannon only becomes a damage 1, so we wouldn't even expect almost one Terminator would be dying from the shooting from the Dreadknight. Let's say something like Poxwalkers, so that don't have Disgusting Resilience, they will be quite, it's quite good against Poxwalkers, these weapons, and units in the Death Guard army with no Disgusting Resilience, for example, Chaos Spawn, will be suffering a lot of damage. Plague Marines, almost 2 Plague Marines dead, etc. But again, the Disgusting Resilience really helps versus the Dreadknight. In melee, the sweeping blow is not very effective. Again, a damage 2 weapon, so normally Death Guard will be reducing down that to 1. But the mighty blow is quite strong, and with a d6 damage, it could do with good dice rolls like my opponent in the Crusade had. It could be outright killing Terminators and Plague Marines, for example. Especially, you have to be careful if your opponent uses the Empiric Amplification spell, because the Nemesis and Psi weapons of the opponent, which is the sword and all the shooting weapons of the Dreadknight, basically they get +1 damage characteristic to this attack. If they select one enemy unit, and then all the weapons hitting that will get +1 damage. So this could be really strong in a big, for example, a big blob of Blight Lords. The opponent can cast Empirical Amplification and then shoot with several Dreadknights or make melee damage. Then it will be quite strong damage output. So if you choose what to deny, the Empiric Amplification would be very good if you could deny that spell. In my first game versus Grey Knights in the tournament, the opponent managed to get the Empiric Amplification versus Mortarion, and I couldn't deny, and then therefore also my Mortarion almost died in the first turn of shooting due to this. So watch out of this, because it basically cancels our benefit from Disgusting Resilience. Looking now at what damage Death Guard units can do to a Dreadknight. So we have a lot of Death Guard units here, and we see from range the shooting damage and then melee damage, etc. The best shooting option, as for many other types of targets, is the Plague Scroller with its mortar and entropy cannons. We can also use Disgusting Force stratagem to increase the damage of the mortar, but this is the most damage we can get in shooting. Normally the Volcons, the Volkite Contemptors, are also very good at shooting, and they have a good range advantage over the Dreadknight. Also, the Plague Scroller can stay back and shoot at the Dreadknight without the Dreadknight being able to shoot back. But the problem with the Contemptor Volkites is here that the AP0, the Dreadknight will be saving on 2 pluses, so not many normal shots will go through, and any mortal wounds, they have a 5+ mortal wound protection. So basically, the Contemptor not as good as a Plague Scroller or even a Defiler. In melee, where it's a strong point of Death Guard, basically Mortarion should be able to kill one in melee, expected 16 wounds on average, but it's not super. Some of the other opponents, like we saw the Redemptor, Mortarion would be able to kill basically 2 Redemptors, but with a 4+ invul save, you might be unlucky and not kill it, even with Mortarion. And many of the others, we can do, let's say, 6, 7, 10 wounds from a 5 death shroud, but still not expected to kill it. 10 not fully buffed, 10 plague marines melee oriented with cleavers and flails, etc., should be able to do 13 wounds. But again, plague marines should to come in melee with a dread knight, that will be quite difficult and survive to do that. But otherwise, yeah, we should be able to do quite a lot of wounds, but it takes multiple units, several buffs, if we want to bring one Dread Knight down. So all in all, it doesn't seem like there is a super unit easy to take out. So it becomes more a dirty attrition warfare. I think it's important to screen from allowing the Dread Knights to teleport in your backlines, using the screen to avoid mortal wounds when the Grey Knights smite you. In my Crusade game, I should have just put the Plaguebearer Scroller behind a screen of Poxwalkers, because it took a lot of wounds from mortal wounds, from the psychic powers that I couldn't deny. And when I lost my Plaguebearer Scroller and my Entropy Cannons, my ability to do something on the Dread Knights was quite severely damaged. Foul Blightspawn with Revolting Stance Badge, allowing Deathguard to fight first, could be very handy. Applying the -1 toughness normally is very strong, but here bringing the Dread Knight from toughness 6 down to toughness 5 doesn't make a huge difference for most of the weapons. Yes, of course, it could help the Blight Launcher, it can help the Flail, but a lot of the damage, if we have strength 7, 8, we don't benefit a lot from going down from toughness 6 to 5, and all our bolters strength 4 don't benefit. So it's in this bracket where we can't bring it down to toughness 4 and make serious improvements to a lot of our wound rolls. Looking then to the Dread Knight versus Thousand Suns, here we can see the wounds that it can do shooting against a small variety of Thousand Suns unit here. So the Dread Knight shooting is quite effective, especially versus Rubric Marines. And Changors, it can take out quite a lot. The Scarab Terminators are quite durable. But here we also have the possibility as Thousand Suns to use the Unwavering Phalanx to bring the damage down, basically getting disgusting resilience. Then the durability of the Rubric Marines will be quite improved. Also the Scarab Terminators. We can also have a 4+ Invul if we can cast the psychic spells and miasma, or Favor of Change, etc. Glamour of Change. In melee also they can do quite a lot of damage versus the Thousand Suns, and again, so all in all, it's quite dangerous unit both in shooting and melee. Again, I think screening and letting protecting some of the strong units here can be important. Looking at the Thousand Suns versus the Dread Knight, so normally the 101 to take out difficult enemy units for Thousand Suns is to go with the psychic powers to deal mortal wounds. So a combination of Doombolt, the Firestorm, Gaze of Hate, Smites, and then with Cabal Rituals to auto-pass or do extra mortal wounds. Normally 13 mortal wounds or more is possible in a round of Psychic in a 2000 point game versus any unit basically. However, Grey Knights, first of all, they are good at denying. They have +1, so they are in a more favorable position to deny the +1 casting of the Thousand Suns. And also, even more importantly, they have this 5+ innate protection versus mortal wounds. So if we assume that the opponent will try to deny all the spells we are casting, then the expected damage output would drop to at least half. So saving 1/3 of the mortal wounds coming through and denying a couple of spells here and there, then it's not so easy to take out a Dread Knight with mortal wounds. The Mutalith Vortex Beast, the Beam of Unreality on a 3+ will be giving mortal wounds to Dread Knight, so that's quite handy. But again, with a lucky 5+ protection roll from the opponent, yeah, you might give 1 wound with this. One idea is to take away the invul save, and then you would need something with AP3 or more to work to remove the, let's say, the 4+ invul saves of the Dreadknight. Here we see the damage output expected from a variety of Thousand Suns units. In shooting, the Forge Fiend with 2 autocannons and ectoplasma can do 5 wounds on the Dreadknight, so not bad. In a combination maybe with mortal wounds and some other unit shooting, you should be able to take out 1 Dreadknight. In melee, the Mauler Fiend with the claws and the lashers could be interesting, almost 10 wounds here, so very strong, let's say, a very strong combo here with the Mauler Fiend. The Demon Prince can also do a little bit, but yeah, most of the other units are not so super effective versus the Dreadknight. So again, it looks like a war of attrition again, and importantly to screen, keep dealing the mortal wounds, chipping away on the damage of the Dreadknights, making them slow, making them shoot worse, and try to whittle them down and try to score the secondaries. I think the Dreadknights, the Grey Knights have very good access to the Purifying Ritual, which allows them to score a lot of secondary points and other shenanigans. So yeah, you have to be able to take some of the Dreadknights out to be able to win the game. So, reaching to the summary and final thoughts, I think the Grey Knights are a formidable foe for both Death Guard and Thousand Suns. So in my game, as I said, in the small Crusade game I played, I lost and I couldn't. I brought down one of the Dreadknights to 5 wounds, but I couldn't. It was not possible to take it out. Many lists of Grey Knights are using multiple Dreadknights, so you can take 3 in the heavy support slot. Then they have 1 or 2 Grandmaster Dreadknights on top of that. So basically you have 5 of this profile to deal with on the game, any one of which probably can teleport and do other shenanigans and psychic powers and denying, etc. Again, a very strong all-rounder unit with very high shooting, melee damage output, core unit being able to be buffed, and the psyker, and it can teleport for 10 points. So it's a bit strong that you have such an all-rounder unit that also has the core keyword. The very good saves and 13 wounds give it high durability, and as I said, we don't have a magic key in the codexes, it seems, not that I have found so far. Not easy to take them out. Like a Redemptor, you could a couple of shootings, they don't have invul, etc. You can take them out. The Dreadknights, you're in for a long and dirty war against them. So a slow and painful grind, and important to screen and not let them in behind lines. Try to maneuver around them, try to chip away on them, and hopefully I'll be able to get a win against Grey Knights soon. So I need to practice a bit more. So this concludes the video. What do you think about the Dreadknights? What has your experience been playing the Grey Knights? So far, as I said, I have 0 for 2 in versus Grey Knights, so I really need to improve that statistic. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you find some good strategies and tactics against them. If you like this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be posting more analysis of Death Guard, Thousand Suns, and this type of opponent know thy enemy videos. And if you further want to support my efforts, please visit my Patreon page, be part of the discussion and community there. And this concludes the video. And with these words, GeneralJannis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.